Hello, welcome to Pike Creek Farm. And today I'm going to make one of the recipes from Mom's cookbook, a vintage recipe. And it is an easy, simple, wonderful coffee cake. We used to make it a lot for holidays. And I made it a couple months ago when we had company, and I made it in a loaf pan and it went over really well. So I said, next time I make it, I'm gonna make a video. So my oven's preheating to 350. So that part's ready. And this is a simple coffee cake that uses a cake mix as the base. It says white, I always have used yellow. And I will put the recipe down below. And it doesn't really have a name. It came from my mom's sister, her younger sister, my Aunt Peggy, and I always thought it came from my sister-in-law, but I guess Aunt Peggy shared it with everyone, and Linda used to make it quite a bit. So we're gonna make this coffee cake. It's not just for breakfast or for coffee, it's a great dessert. It's a streusel type cake and simple, smells wonderful, and I think you'll like it. And I am gonna make it in a bundt pan. You can also make it in, it says 3 bread pans. I made it in 2 last time. Maybe my bread pans were larger. So this starts with just a regular old cake mix. And then we're going to doctor it up. Do you remember that book? Back in the 90s, I think it was, 2000s, Cake Mix Doctor? There was some good recipes in there. There's one I still make, it's my son's favorite, called A Darn Good Chocolate Cake. Anyway, we're gonna start by putting 1 yellow or white cake mix into the bowl. And it can be a cheap mix. It doesn't need to be anything fancy because we're going to make it doctored up. Next, we're going to add instant vanilla pudding. Just making sure it was instant. Ooh, that almost puffed everywhere. Next, we're going to add half a cup of oil, a neutral oil. I just have vegetable oil. One cup of sour cream. Half a cup, need half a cup more. Now, this will not last in my house until Thanksgiving. That's why I really debated on doing it in the loaf pans, but it still wouldn't have lasted till Thanksgiving. We need 1 teaspoon of vanilla, a bloop. That's what I just add as a bloop. And 4 eggs. I've been getting a lot of eggs from my chickens, so this is a good thing to use them up. I'm gonna crack them into this bowl and then add them. Now we wanna mix this up. It says for 5 minutes. But until everything is mixed together nice and some air is mixed into it so it will rise nicely. So here we go. This turns out really thick. So now we're gonna make the topping. It also goes in the middle. I have 1 cup of sugar, just granulated sugar. I'm gonna add 1 cup of pecans. 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, because you gotta have the cinnamon flavor. And I didn't level them off really. A little extra is okay, in my opinion. Then 2 teaspoons of cocoa. Whoa, and I just cocoaed myself. I am using Dutch cocoa that came from our Mennonite store. It's got a nice color to it. So now we want to mix this up. And the nice thing about it is it doesn't have a glaze or anything when it comes out. I guess you could do that, but it truly doesn't need it. I'm gonna butter it using butter and not the spray. In this pan, I have noticed, because it's like the ceramic, that when I spray it, the oil just slides immediately down to the bottom. And the butter will stay on the edges better and not all pool down here in the bottom and make it greasy down there. Now I want there to be some streusel on the top of it. So that means when you're doing a bundt pan, you got to put it on the bottom. Making sure this is all mixed up. I saw some white through the glass bowl. I'm going to use a tablespoon to sprinkle it. So make sure you have some nuts and some sugar. And put all around. And that looks good. Now we're going to put half of the, a little bit more there, trying to get it to the same level. We're going to put half of the batter on top of that. And it's such a thick batter, I'm just going to kind of plop it on. And then I will spread it. Get a metal spoon out. I think that might work better. I'm going to make sure I take it to the edge of the pan. On both the outside and the middle. Now we put a thicker layer of this streusel. Now we're gonna plop again. So now we're gonna swirl it some. This might have been a real popular recipe back then that went around, so maybe it's something that many of you have seen before or made. I think we are good now. There's some marbling, but there's also some that's in the center still. So this needs to bake for an hour. Check it. I would set it for like 50 because every oven cooks different, every pan is different. Here it is out of the oven. Letting it rest for a few minutes. Letting it rest for a few minutes. Kind of going around making sure it's loose. And it did not take 60 minutes. I used the toothpick to make sure it was not raw in the middle, and it was not, so I took it out. So I'm gonna flip it, and fingers crossed it comes out whole. I'm gonna let it rest and fall out naturally. I thought there might be some of the streusel. It sticks there, and I'll just take a knife and put that back on the top. And here it is. It did all come out. Some of the powdery stuck in the bottom, but not much. But I will cut it soon, and so you can see what it looks like. Well, here we are the next day, and this is all that's left. So let me cut a piece. Okay, before it's all gone, here it is. You can see the filling. It is just really very simple, wonderful coffee cake. And the part in the middle like that, yum, yum. Thank you for watching. I hope you make this during the holiday season. If you want to see more, subscribe to my channel. I'd love to have you here. See you next time at Pike Creek Farm.